Hi, NIO fam. It is April 24th. It's Thursday, and it's a little after 11:15 a.m. Central Standard Time as I record this. There's your date and timestamp. Across the world in China, they've got the Shanghai Auto Show that's been going on. And I'm going to come back and share some different clips and links with you of some of the folks and what they're sharing there. But this is actually a video. It's kind of a 5-minute take from NIO. I've got this piece of the video highlighted because this is where they reference that Firefly will be introduced to 16 countries across 5 continents this year. And we're going to talk about more with respect to that in just a second. But I'll link everything that I share in this video in the description. This is one of the things that is, I think, of note, and it is a nod to NIO as much more than just a car company, an EV maker, manufacturer. This also from NIO on their Twixter. So again, I'll link all this so you can check it out for yourselves. And then I'll also come back with a separate video and share more things. There's more that I'm still kind of compiling in the background. This is the Abu Dhabi group. Remember, you've got the CYVN and the MENA region and some of the backers from the Middle East of NIO, and they are praising the Ledao or the Onvo. This is the release or launch of the L90, kind of that introduction. More on that again in a future video, but I thought it was noteworthy because as people have been critical of Onvo not ramping on deliveries as fast as they wanted to see it, I think there's still a lot of market that NIO can take with Onvo or Ledao brand. This also of note, which is why I wanted to point it out. This is from Q&A, and this is the point at which I wanted to make or highlight, and that's because the power swap stations in the future, the 5th generation ones, are going to be compatible for and across all 3 brands for NIO. So all of the brands NIO, Onvo, and Firefly will all be able to utilize the power swap stations. And so that's the 5th gen. I'm not sure about the 4th gen. I think there was a teaser maybe about that previously, but until we hear something, I'm still not sure. We don't have full clarity on the power swap stations and what that looks like, that infrastructure build out for Firefly. I do think that matters. And this is a comment, and shout out Captain Sarge on this one. He says, if the ET9 would only come to Europe or Ireland, and this is my long-winded response. I'm going to share this, and then we'll talk about the NIO stock price action today. What's going on? It looks like there is a positive move maybe taking shape. Maybe this will mark the beginning of the reversal, but more on that in just a minute. This is my thought with respect to the concept overall. And so my response to Cap Sarge was, generally speaking, this is my broad overview concept, but it is to be applied within different regions or countries or areas as per their regulation allowance or their willingness for power swap stations. I believe William Li is realizing the importance of power swap station infrastructure and how impactful it has has been on sales and sales potential within different regions. I also think this is going to be part of what's going to differentiate or make different brands, the sub-brands, maybe more likely to expand in different areas. I go on to state, personally, I wasn't surprised that some areas outside of China took so long for NIO to get approval and to build out their power swap stations. It was a pain point that William Li and NIO probably had to go through in order to recognize the proper cadence of power swap stations first, and I'm referencing it as PSS to shorten it, along with also seeing that some areas would be more or less willing to embrace such a newfangled idea as power swap stations. The trick of this is navigating the hurdles and time constraints that governments or regulatory bodies might pose. The value to the consumer in having such a lower price point with battery as a service being available is enormous. But if power swap stations aren't available, the value proposition to the user changes and is much less attractive. If the energy play proves to create value to the local or regional governments, and even at a larger level, say within an entire country or a collective like the EU, this shifts things in a way that fewer than 1%, I believe, of anyone even tracking this stuff has yet realized or recognized. It could mean a net win for governments while reducing their long-term expenses, perhaps providing more creative tax options to areas that incorporate this alternative energy option, possibly lessening the burden on individual taxpayers as well. At the same time, this would be providing more flexibility and affordability for consumers who will then have battery as a service or BaaS pricing available to them with models that can utilize the power swap stations. this concept is potentially worth incredible money or value through reduction of costs to all parties. Although the ecosystem and its full benefits are probably not yet known or understood, this is part of what I mean with my references to the energy play for NIO. Stay tuned. We've got to see how this shakes out in the long term. But now let's talk briefly NIO stock price today, what we're seeing. And by the way, a nod to on the ticker, which I've kept on the bottom of the screen and will continue to keep there until we do have a clear reversal with NIO stock moving up, is there are 3 short-term stock price indicators that I've been tracking. And I actually will share this as well, the last year of FTDs with the NIO stock price. We'll come back to that in a second, because right now this is on the right-hand side, today's price action. And what we've got is the stock is up over 7% as I'm recording this. They just got to over 30 million shares traded on days where we see a bigger trade volume for NIO, typically 100 million shares traded over the course of a trade day. We usually see the stock price move up, and sometimes we see big moves up. So that is something that I've continued to track and keep at the bottom of the screen on the ticker. The other 2 pieces in the super short term, as I consider them, is or are sentiment, which has been very negative, but perhaps the Shanghai Auto Show and the ET9 and the introduction of, let's say, the new chips that NIO is coming out with, all their advancements on the tech side of things might start making a difference and help shift that sentiment narrative. At the same time, we've got the FTDs, which are represented by the white lines here on screen. The stock price is the yellow. FTDs basically represent when there could have been naked shorting or manipulation of the stock price, typically to the downside. And in this last year, this is roughly the last year, if you'll note this point I've got over here on the right-hand side, this is the 2 million FTD marker. And so if you see that the stock price seems to come down after we see these bigger spikes, well, above that, we see the stock price come down. And then even as it moves up, by the way, this is the recent peak that we've seen on that day. Looks like there were over 135 million shares traded. So again, a nod to the bigger volume seemingly making a difference with NIO stock to the upside. One of the reasons I've kept it on the ticker and will keep it there until, like I said, we see a clear reversal and the stock moving in the correct direction for many of us NIO longs, and that is up, of course. But anyway, I wanted to share some of this and try to not go too long with this video, but I did go over 8 minutes. It looks like once I edit it down, we'll see what that is. If it's over 8 minutes, and that means there will be ads in there, then I will create timestamps and share those as along with rather the links that I also shared in the description to make it a little more convenient for the viewer to jump around so you don't have to watch all the way through if you don't want to. And I will be back with more content. Again, a lot of links that I'm tracking, the background with the Shanghai Auto Show and superstars like Jeff, NIO San Francisco on the ground over there, Marcel, Jason Yu, I think is there. So anyway, there will be a lot to share. It's going to be fun to just do a video and share some of what they're seeing. Thanks again for stopping by and listening to me all the way to the end, if you in fact made it to the end. I'll see y'all again very soon.